All right, everyone, welcome back. My name is Jay Marlow, and here today I am joined by Alyssa Klimuszka, the president, founder, and CEO of Her HR Solutions, a consulting firm here in Buffalo. Alyssa, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Very excited to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you. I want to dive right in because I think it's really important to
Mhm.
call attention to the voices that we're hearing on a day to day basis here on LinkedIn. A lot of people are scared. A lot of people are frustrated by the hiring practices. They're not really knowing what to do. Can you give us a bird's eye view of what the hiring landscape is actually looking like right now from where you sit?
Absolutely. And you're absolutely right when you say, Jay, of it is scary right now. And applicants are feeling it when they are looking for work. And the bulk of it is when I start seeing these positions that are being posted and you're seeing these qualified applicants come through, and applications are receiving hundreds and hundreds of applicants now, especially for some of these remote style work roles. What we're noticing in the trend is that companies now, organizations as a whole, don't know what they're looking for. So because they don't know what they are looking for, it's impacting the candidate experience. Candidates are applying for jobs and they think that they're absolutely fantastic. And when you read the job description, they are. They are
Right.
absolutely fantastic. They are hitting every single bullet point, every single qualification, every requirement. You see it on the resume, you see the keywords. But then the company is all of a sudden receiving these applicants. They're coming in and they're like, "Oh my god, is this actually what I need?" It's becoming so reactive rather than proactive with recruitment practices that there's not being given much thought of the long-term plan when we're seeing roles. It's
Mm,
all of a sudden one day it's a manager's having conversation with ownership, or ownership is seeing, "Oh, hey, this didn't get done as part of this project. I now need to hire an engineer," for an example,
right.
and we need somebody who's specialized. And then all of a sudden the next day happens because the owner's then going to HR, the recruiter saying, "Hot need, have to fill this right away. Get this job up. Like, do what you have to do, move mountains." And they're posting the job. And then all of a sudden they're coming back to ownership 2 days later saying, "Hey, we have a whole bunch of applicants, like really excited about who we have." And now it's, "Well, we actually don't really need that." Is that 5-minute problem that they were convinced now they needed a position for was a 5-minute problem. You
Right.
don't need
Right.
somebody for that, and applicants are the ones who are paying that price because of that failure to plan.
So having a lot of reactivity instead of proactiveness
Yes,
is the huge thing. So I'm
absolutely.
curious, how does this compare to how the hiring landscape was 3 to 5 years ago?
At that point, especially because 3 to 5 years ago, if we think about it, we were in the pandemic or we were just coming out of the pandemic. So when roles were becoming posted, those were legitimate needs because we were in the middle of the Great Recession as well. People were really finding what their passions were. They spent that time during the course of the pandemic finding their truths, finding what they were meant to be doing in the career paths that were for them. So they were actually going into roles that existed. They were
Mm,
going into these needs that companies automatically said, "Yes, we do need this. We've had fallout from the pandemic. So we have positions that have become available." So at that point, when roles were being posted, they were actually fundamental needs. Now, when we're seeing roles being posted, kind of like what I just said, it's we're taking a 5-minute problem and a
mm.
quick reactive emotion of we're so stressed out, we're so overworked. And rather than looking at the full scope, we're failing to plan again.
There's an obvious disconnect there.
Mhm.
So between candidates think is happening when they apply for a role and what's happening on the recruiter side. There are a myriad of reasons on why this could happen, especially with those snap decisions. But can you walk us through on your end the process from the moment someone hits submit? Because I think a lot of people would be surprised on that side.
Yes. So when we look at it from the recruitment side, so as soon as they hit submit, recruiters are receiving notifications of applications coming in. And the next steps really depend in terms of the technology that the company has available to them, and
Mm,
also if they are utilizing AI platforms to do an
mm,
initial screen of candidates. That AI platform, a lot of times, are taking a look at applications and resumes and doing a keyword match of resumes to that of the job description. And based upon that, an AI tool will rank candidates higher than others in terms of a list. And then recruiters, when they go through, they will go through that list. When you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applicants, like you are seeing a lot of times now for these remote positions, not everyone is being looked at. They aren't. In right, wrong, or indifferent, it's being ranked according to those AI tools that a lot of these features have. So if you're not within those top 30 candidates, you likely may not even be getting looked at.
Mm,
So, my advice to individuals who are looking at those positions, and on LinkedIn, it's nice. You can see like how many people have clicked apply, how many are looking at this, and you can even see at the bottom like how you compare. If there is an option on there and it says meet the hiring team, and it gives the recruiter, it gives the hiring manager on there, and it has the option for you to hit connect, do that extra step to actually take it somewhere further. So that way
mhm,
they are not only seeing your name come across, they're seeing a message come from you, they're seeing a connection request come from you, a note with your connection request. You want to work in threes. Have your name be seen 3 times. First
mm.
time, okay, I see a name. Second time, I think I've seen that name before. Third time, I need to look at them.
And I tell people this all the time. If the information is available to you, it's for a reason. Go
Right.
as deep
Use it.
as you can. Yeah, yeah,
Use it.
absolutely. That's great. That's great. No, I love that. I love when people, because certain folks, I do recruitment for my organization and folks will apply, they'll call my office, they'll send me an email, they'll send me a LinkedIn invite because it's tough, because I
Yes.
feel like if you don't go that extra mile, you're just going to be forgotten.
Correct.
But I think it's fair to say most candidates wouldn't take that extra mile, which is why we're pushing them to do so. Is there a
Mhm.
certain part of the process where they would fall off?
If they're not following up, there's a risk they're going to fall off right from the very beginning. And
Mm.
I think a lot of times when we think of the word follow up, people immediately put that stigma of I'm being pushy.
Mm.
I'm seeing like I'm trying too hard or over asserting myself. We also see this a lot of time with the stigmas when it comes to gender of like, do I want to be too aggressive? Is what it's sometimes labeled as. And it's so far from the truth. If
Right.
you want it and you need this job, you push and you push and you push. There is nothing wrong with following up. Now, does that mean every hour on the hour you are calling the recruiter and whatnot? No, there's obviously different lengths in which we want to
Right.
follow up and whatnot. But if you send them a message and a couple days later, let's say you go back and check the posting and you can see the posting's now being taken down. Couple more days go by. Just wanted to touch base with you, see if anything's going on. And my call to action with this for recruiters, especially if you have somebody who is consistently following up with you, show them a level of courtesy
Mhm.
and follow up with them. It is a two-way street. As crazy as it sounds, give them that peace of mind of, okay, I didn't get it. I can just completely scratch this one off the table and I can focus on the next opportunity that I'm working on and whatnot. But show them a level of courtesy of just, I really
Absolutely.
appreciate you reaching out. It's been fantastic to hear from you. At this time, you have not been selected, but I encourage you to continuously check out our career postings. And if something becomes available in the future, I encourage you to apply. It's that
Absolutely.
simple. That simple.
Closing closing the loop is
Yes.
so huge.
Yes.
And I just have to echo what you said about the follow-ups because I know so many people think that they're going to be annoying and that they just need to like sit and wait. But everyone who is watching this, hear us when we say in HR, things could change like that. Having that screen, having that interview, and then all of a sudden we need to be filling out FMLA paperwork. And then someone
Mhm.
needs an incident report out on the floor, and then a number of things. And then all of a sudden, the day just gets away with us, right? It happens so
Right.
often that
Mhm.
sending that note, hey, you were going to call back in an hour, that's happened to me plenty of times. I'll
It
be
always
fully
does.
honest. Yeah,
It always does.
absolutely.
It's for every HR person, like you said, just the paperwork alone that we sometimes see. We always run into it anytime somebody ever comes to our offices and say, "Do you have a minute?" That minute is never it
Right,
never
right.
is. So we could be looking at applicants and someone's gonna come by and say, "Do you have a minute?" Absolutely, come in and talk. 2 hours later, "What was I doing?"
So just kind of continuing off on that, with the noise right now online, a lot of the frustration, a lot of the silence, the ghosting, the rejection, it's creating a gap between hiring teams and the people who want to work for them. Right? I
Mhm.
think we could agree.
Yes.
I want you to speak directly to the candidate who's been on the market for 6 months, a year, longer, and they're losing hope. They're running out of gas. And
Mhm.
at this point, it feels like they're just screaming into the void. What do you want them to know?
I think with that, it's a twofold approach. It needs to come down to really look at the types of jobs that you are applying for Does it make sense what you are actually applying for? So
Mm,
it does require a level of self reflection. And sometimes it's a very hard pill to swallow because you may think that, like, I'm meant to be doing this and you may not have the qualifications for it. So, again, I know that's very, very tough, but that's your first step is to do an examination of what you're looking for. If after that you're like, yes, I am qualified for these jobs, I am meant to be doing this, I have the experience to back it up, this is again when we need to start taking a look at, are you looking for something that is remote where you are now combating against the entire country? And like I
mm,
said, you're getting hundreds and thousands of applicants for jobs, and that is very difficult. If you're not looking for a remote position, and let's say it's something in town, so it's within your city, it's within drivable distance, and let's say you're looking at this job and you're like, I really want this job. I know I can get this and it's local. I would encourage you to apply. Drive there and drop your resume off. Show up.
eh,
If you are in that moment where you're like, "I don't know what else to do," and it is a place that you can commute to, drive there as a follow-up to your application and drop off your resume. Show them that you want to physically be there. That goes a long way because now I'm not just looking on a computer. That receptionist or that secretary is gonna go back and hand me now this piece of paper.
mhm. That's
I
huge.
have it now in my hand.
Right.
So it's going to be on my desk. I don't have to print off anybody else's. I already have a physical paper in my hand. It goes a long way.
I think more often than not, if somebody shows that level of initiative, it'll get them at least a call back
Correct.
to meet
You're
with
at
a greater
least going
team.
to get a call back for it. And when you show up, don't just say, "Hey, I want to drop this off as part of my application." Actually ask them, is there a member from HR or the recruitment team who's available? I just have a couple quick questions regarding my application that I submitted. They have no problem calling, but don't just get in the habit of, "Oh, I'm just here to drop this off." Actually ask, is somebody available that I can just talk to about for 5 minutes? I have a question about my application.
There a lot of the frustration, you run your own business. I have a coaching business that I run as well.
Mhm.
What separates the folks, right? It's like you could get a great resume, throw it into ChatGPT, have it come out in a great format, but what separates that from someone who is looking to enlist someone for their services to kind of revamp their strategy?
When you're actually working with a person to revamp your
Mhm.
resume, you're going to allow for your story to unfold. When you do it through AI, when you do it through Chat GPT, there's nothing custom. There's nothing personal to it. Is it a very quick tool? Absolutely. If you're in a time crunch, I get it. But if you have the opportunity to sit down with a coach, with a resume writer, and you paint your story and what your career goals are, it comes out so much more eloquently than
Mm,
when you are just typing it into a program. Because with your resume, we're not just telling your qualifications of what you do. You are selling yourself. You are selling your story. What makes you the best of what you do? Like, yeah, it can't be done as well through technology. Not saying it's not impossible to do,
right.
but it's the way you communicate things. It's the way it flows across the piece of paper. It's so much better, I feel like, when you're working with a person than utilizing that technology feature. And also
Absolutely.
with that matter, let's say you do go that route of working with a person and then you're called in for an interview. It sinks. You can tell then when you're sitting in front of them that this is their story. It matches with the paper now in front of me.
Yep.
Versus when you use the AI, when you use the Chat GPT, and then you sit down and you're talking to me. I've been in interviews before where I look at this resume and I'm looking at the person. I'm like,
Who is this?
We're one and the same here." We're like, the math is not mathing. It's not mathing
Right.
anymore.
Mm.
So it makes it so much better as well than when you have that opportunity to interview because it's cohesive. It's synced
Yeah.
between you and the paper.
So, Alyssa, a lot of job seekers feel like they're doing everything right, tailoring the resume, networking, and following up, and still hearing nothing. But if you could sit across from one of those candidates right now, what is the honest, compassionate truth that you would share?
Don't give up. I know it's so easy to give up and it's so difficult at times. There's a reason for everything and the timing for everything is it's meant to align with your story. And this is even somebody I own my own company now. And there was a period of my life where I was in that position. There was about 8 months where I was applying and applying and applying and applying and I wasn't getting anywhere. Like I remember the feeling. It feels absolutely terrible. It's an awful feeling. And my heart goes out to everybody who is going through that because it weighs on you. It really
Mhm.
does. but I'm promising you, like, there is a light to the end of the tunnel. It's going to happen. There's a reason for it. You can get through it. Don't be afraid to lean on local networks. Check out networking events. There's so many free ones in the area that you can go to. Talk to people, get out and talk to people. I think that's really helpful, especially when you are going through that, because when you are just sitting at home all day on a computer, sitting there just applying, you're losing human interaction, number one, which is not good for your mental and emotional health. You have no thought process then. That's all you think about.
Yeah.
Get out of the house, go to a networking event, Google a couple in the area. There's so many free ones that are available to go to and just start talking to people. Just start talking. You'll feel better emotionally, and then you're getting your name out there otherwise. People with
Hmm.
LinkedIn, they just do quick scrolls.
Right.
So you can reach hundreds of people in one go with that. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But are you really going to get the attention that you deserve when you're putting out that cry for help on there? I don't think that you will.
Right.
Go out and talk to people.
I'm sure there is a fine line as you're networking with folks on LinkedIn or at events
Mhm.
between showing genuine interest in the other person and what they do and can you do something for me? So what is that fine line?
To have a conversation. Go into it. I know I hear this all the time, especially with local universities whenever I do talks there. Is they always say, "Oh, have you elevator pitch ready to go?" And it's very scripted. And sure, I think it's great, whatever. Have a conversation with a person. Just if you're like at a coffee networking event. Hi, I'm so and so. What's your name? Just start with the basics. Oh, what do you do? How long have you worked there? That's really cool. Cuz you can tell when it's meant to be transactional versus
Yep.
somebody is there to build a relationship with you and actually network with you. Build the relationship, the transaction will come afterwards.
We talked about candidates feeling like they are doing everything right. But on
Yes.
our end, from the recruitment side, what does doing everything right look like? What they don't know, and I try to explain this to clients, candidates alike, that, we could have a role posted for 3 weeks, but then all of a sudden leadership comes in and they're like, hey, we're actually going to move this person from that department into this, and the role's no longer necessary, right?
Mhm.
Is there a way to kind of mitigate that feeling of you wasted my time from the candidate's standpoint?
Think having a level of communication with them in as transparency as much as possible is absolutely critical. Now, that's not saying that we give the keys to the kingdom and whatnot with everything. There's certain things that we can and cannot say is part of conversations. But if you know that ownership has been coming to you, like if you said the role's been posted for 3 weeks, after week one, they're already coming to you going like, well, we don't know, but go through the interview process. We might be moving so and so at that point. When you have your first phone screen with that candidate, show them a level of courtesy saying this is very preliminary. We're just starting discussions. We may be moving some things around internally, but I just want to be transparent with you on that. So if you are selected for the next steps, we'll be moving forward with the interview. But I just want you to be aware of where we are
Mhm.
with our decision making process. There's nothing wrong with saying that. You're saying nothing confidential. That's simply the process that you are following. With those situations, though, like you said, of we don't know about things. And I think this is something that candidates, and it's very difficult when you're in that position to see the other side of the fence, but recruiters and even HR for that matter, we're not the decision makers on this.
Right.
We are getting the information and we are just the communicators and the ones passing it on. So a lot of times when we're coming to you saying, I'm so sorry, like this has been filled internally. I'll keep your
Mm.
resume on file. About 90% of the time, we just found out 5 minutes ago that this was even in contention of happening. And now we are having to message it. Those always sting. And I don't know if
Mhm.
there's any way around those not stinging. It's just showing the candidates a level of courtesy and professionalism of actually communicating it with them.
What have you seen that candidates are doing that might be working against them in the interview process?
I think ChatGPT is something that works against individuals like we talked about because you can definitely tell when there is a disconnect and it's not syncing
Mhm.
between them. I think that's the biggest component that I'm noticing right now. I think with that as well, when candidates are providing references, I think that's fantastic. When candidates want to provide references, make sure your references are relevant to the position in question. I'm sure the person that you had a high school job with, that manager absolutely thought you were fantastic 10 years ago. And so that reference is not going to hold as much weight anymore. So when I'm seeing that, my question is now, why are you giving me a reference from a job you had 10 years ago versus somebody not currently?
Right.
So it's providing information when it's needed, not overindulging the information, in having appropriate timing behind it.
So, moving on to ghosting.
Yes.
Ghosting has become one of the most talked about pain points for candidates, and it has genuinely damaged the level of trust in the hiring process. Help us understand what's actually happening on the other side of that silence and what, if anything, candidates should take personally.
It's one of these things, and I certainly don't want to make excuses for like a recruiter or an HR person in that because I don't think that there's ever reason to ghost an individual. I think that's incredibly rude and disrespectful to do. It's definitely kind of dehumanizing the process, which is something I'm very much against. But in times when I do find that happening, it is typically you have a recruiter who is in a phase of burnout, completely exhausted, beyond frustrated because something has completely changed that they were not aware of in terms of what was happening, and they don't want to be the bad guy again.
Mm,
They don't want to be the one delivering the bad news. Again, does not make it right. We should be following up, but that's typically what is happening. So it goes again to that call to leadership. Everything stems from the top when we're looking at
right.
leadership with recruitment. It needs to be, is this truly a fundamental need? Are you still going to think this is a need tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now? Can you solve it internally? Those are all questions that need to be being asked ahead of time. Once we answer those questions, it will make the process easier for recruiters. We will avoid levels of burnout. We'll have more psychological safety in the workplace. When we do that, it exudes onto the candidates. Candidates have a fantastic experience. Nobody's being ghosted. They're being communicated with. We hire them and everybody's happy.
What about the candidates in the situations where they go through 6 or 7 rounds and then hear nothing or get that generic, thank you for applying email?
This is my take on this. If a company feels like they have to do 6 or 7 rounds of interviews, they shouldn't be hiring. They they
Period.
they should not be hiring. They have no clue what they want, and they're just hoping that the answer is going to fall into their lap as part of it. So they're not doing a level of due diligence. If you don't know after 3 interviews, and I'm talking 3 interviews is also including your phone screen, you should not be looking for somebody. I've
Correct.
sat in those before where it's like, oh, well, now we want you to meet this person, this person, this person. Why?
Why?
Why
Right.
is this a committee of who's gonna do this? Like, and then you're hired, and the person that you had your second round, like, committee style with, you never see again. You never
Right.
interact with them, but it's like,
Exactly.
"Oh, we wanted a third party opinion." No, you didn't know what you wanted.
When I screen someone, I generally know after that screen whether they'll succeed
Yeah.
or not at the company, because that's what we do, right? We're
Mhm.
fitting them into the right roles with the right people, with the right strategies. Speaking on LinkedIn, it's become so much more than a digital resume, right? What are recruiters and talent acquisition professionals actually paying attention to when a candidate pops up and they have an active presence?
Mhm.
And what are some quiet mistakes that are costing people opportunities before they even apply?
It's something where and it actually makes me nervous now when utilizing LinkedIn for recruitment, and it's because it's become so much like a social media platform. And as hiring professionals, we know that you don't look at social media platforms when
Hmm.
you are making hiring decisions because you just don't want to go down that wormhole. But when we start looking at candidate profiles, we're taking a look at their resume, but then I look at your LinkedIn profile and it shows that you have a specialty in a completely different area. Your title's even completely different. Well, which one is it now? Like,
Right,
which is the truth behind it? Are you just giving me the piece of paper to see what I want to see? Or is this actually you?
right.
So there should be a level of cohesion between your resume and your LinkedIn profile. And then we're also going to look and see what type of posts have you interacted with? Are you following the company? Have you liked any of our posts before? Or did you just use the algorithm one day and said, hey, this is jobs for me, easy apply, push the button,
Mm.
done.
So there is a clear way to tell if somebody's invested that time in the
Correct.
research. Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Um, so from that social media aspect, I actually did a post on this the other day. If you do get ghosted or if you do have a bad experience with a hiring team, I think the last place to go and air your grievances is LinkedIn because that does get shared very easily. And a lot of people, some people that you may not want to see that could see it. Speak on that. How has that impacted hiring decisions?
I think, again, anybody can vent and say what they want to say. If you've had a terrible experience, I'm not going to say that it should be minimized and that you shouldn't air your grievances. However, there is a professional way of doing so.
Hmm.
Because when you air that grievance, future job readers and future job posters are going to see it and it's going to make them nervous. They see now what you're doing. Again, there is a professional way to air that grievance. If you have been ghosted, I agree. Like, go ahead and say something, but contact the company directly. It does not need a public post associated with it because it also is going to raise the question of, did you, candidate, do
Mm,
everything you were supposed to do
right.
associated with it? So it's one of these things where I don't want to minimize anybody's experiences or any frustrations that they have, but there's a professional means of airing them.
Hmm. I agree. Can you walk me through what a standout candidate looks like right now?
Goodness, standout candidate, I would say from a resume perspective, I personally like seeing at the top of their resumes like a career summary, professional objectives. I'm one of those weird people. I don't know if everybody still likes them, but I
I
love
love
seeing
it.
it because I want to see what are your career goals and aspirations because it will also tell me if this is a long-term fit or if this is a
Hmm.
means to an end for you. Are we just looking to climb the ladder and you're going to leave us eventually at some point? But this gives me an area of objection in terms of what I'm looking for.
Hmm.
When I look at your resume, I want to see a flow. I don't just want to see tasks. I also want to see non technical components on there. What leadership programs did you participate in? How big was your team size that you were working with? If you're not in a management position, did you work on any committees that you were working with? Did you volunteer at all at work? Did you serve on like a DEI committee with your workplace and whatnot? Do you serve on safety boards? Have you done professional development in the work that you do? I want to see through your resume an interest in
Hmm.
your work. When every bullet point is just a transactional, yep, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Great. For me, when I see that is you're going to come in, punch a time card and leave.
Right.
But are you going to invest in us as we are going to invest in you? I
Right.
want to see that relationship on your resume and through that piece of paper. And that goes back to the question that you talked about earlier. Like, do you use ChatGPT or a person? This is where you use a person
Right.
because ChatGPT is going to give you just the transactions.
Yeah, that's great. What about someone who is navigating a career change, going into a different industry?
Include it as part of your professional summary and your career objective at the top. Tell me. I
Yeah.
think that's fantastic. And then when you are doing that, try to make those connections in your previous experience to ways that it could be connected to the current job that you're now applying for. There's almost ways to do that with everything.
Hmm.
There
Yep.
really is. You might have to get a little creative with it, and that's okay, but include it as part of your career objective. Tell me. I think that's fantastic. If somebody has the wherewithal and is like, I know in myself to change my career, and this is what I'm passionate about, and this is what I want to do, all the power to you. I think that's fantastic. And sometimes it just takes somebody having that leap of faith to make it happen. But if you don't tell me that's what you're doing, and I look at your resume, I'm going to be like, why are you applying for this job? It has nothing to do with what you've been doing.
Cover letters, important, not
Oh god, I
important?
hate them.
You do? Okay.
I hate cover letters. I hate cover
Perfect.
letters. The only time I like a cover letter is simply when it is a position that is very heavy on writing. So, like,
Mhm.
I've looked before for grant writers. I wanna see how well you can write. So now I want to see a cover letter associated with it. But, like, when I've recruited for manufacturing types of positions, I don't care. I don't care about a cover letter. I mean, nobody reads them anyway. I'm sorry. That's just the fact of the matter. I think
Um,
they need to be connected to the job. Otherwise, I think
yes,
it's just one more thing that a hiring manager's like, "Oh, I'm gonna need this."
right.
Do you?
Absolutely.
Like, do you actually?
What about a follow-up email after the interview?
Love it. I wanna see
You
a
do?
follow-up email. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's fantastic when you can tell me from that interview in your follow-up why you still think you're a good fit for the job.
Because
Reinforce it
they
again.
exactly, they just got all of this fantastic information and spent that time. They should be having a little bit of a callback. I agree.
You want your name to just be consistently seen, like we talked about the threes just to get your phone screen, and now you have your foot
Mhm.
in the door. They've now sat with you, they've looked at your resume, but guess what? Now they did, like, 10 other interviews that day. You want your name to be the one that comes back up again, so make sure you send it. It's just a reminder, the more you can make your name seen, the more familiar and comfortable it becomes.
Is there a specific amount of time that a candidate should wait, or can they send it on their way home?
I think on their way home is way too soon.
Okay.
Because what I would like to see is if you come in the morning and do interviews, there's a very high chance we're doing interviews for the rest of that day too.
Mhm.
Send it to me at the end of the day when I've already done interviewed everybody else so that I am going back to the first person I met with that day. If you send it to me in the car on the way home, I just shook your hand. Like
Right.
I'm refilling the coffee cup. I haven't even made it back into the room yet to sit down. I know who
Right.
you are. Like,
Right.
give it a little bit. You just want to be reminding them of your name.
Right. Let it breathe a little bit, reflect on the experience, and you don't
Yes,
want anyone to think that that is a template.
correct.
Speaking of templates, using AI to do your resume, I have always said is fine, but like we talked about, have the human aspect to it. Take all of the
Agreed.
information that it gives you and then put your spin on it, your little bit of flavor.
Yes.
Can you talk of any experiences that really stood out to you that was just like an AI no-no?
If you're going to use AI, again, it's here. We might as well get used to it. Please proofread. Please just proofread everything. Make sure that what it's actually saying is the truth.
Mhm.
Because a lot of these AI tools is just taking the job requirements and qualifications and it's plugging it into your resume in some cases. So if you put on your resume that I have done this because AI put it in there, and then you make it to that interview, and you're sitting in front of me and I said, "Oh, can you tell me how you did this?" And you can always tell when it's not the truth because it's the deer in the
They
headlights
have
look,
that.
and it's that moment of like, "What did I say I did?" And it's like,
Right.
so you didn't do it, and then you're not going to receive the job because you lied on your resume and
Mhm.
whatnot, and you put that in there. And I know some people are like, "Well, I didn't lie." You did. You put something on there saying that you did something and you didn't do it.
So, talking about misconceptions, what's the biggest myths that a candidate could have about a recruiter that you wish you could address on a large scale?
We started talking about this earlier that the recruiter's the one making the decision. Just because they are the
Perfect.
ones communicating everything, it's this idea that they are the ones making the decision,
Mhm.
and they aren't. They are not the ones making the decision at the end of the day. They are simply the middleman, and I can assure you that they are advocating for you for
Mhm.
these positions, but it is not their decision in
Right.
terms of what's happening. So it's very quick to go ahead and blame recruiters or to blame an HR professional for something, and it's like, we're just the messengers.
Right. And a lot of times it takes as long as it takes. As much as sometimes we would want to go to the hiring manager's office and say, "Hey, let's make a decision." We can't do
Mhm,
that all the time. So let's flip that for a second. Is there something that we as HR professionals and recruiters can be doing better
mhm.
to understand where the candidates are coming from?
Remember that they're human. They're human beings. They're not just a job rec number. They are not a piece of paper that's coming across our desk. They are not the PDF that is coming to our email. They are a human being. And it goes back to the level of human decency. That's what it comes back to. And I think so many times because we get so busy, we're just like, oh, well, I have 10 people. I'm good. This is what I'm going to
Mm.
go through. Are you, though? You're looking at them
Mhm.
as a number. Look at them as a human being, as if they're talking to you in person. Don't just look at it as a piece of paper.
A lot of job seekers believe that if they apply to enough roles, the numbers game will eventually work in their favor. Is that true today? If not, what strategy should replace it?
If you're applying to enough of positions that you're actually qualified for and what you're meant to do, then yes, it is a numbers game. But if you are just doing the easy apply feature on everything and anything, no, it's
Mhm.
not a numbers game because you're applying for something you're not qualified for. So it's a double-edged component with that of if you're doing it to positions that actually make sense for you, match your skill set and match your qualifications, yes, the odds are in your favor that something will happen. But if you were just apply to anything, no.
If you could redesign one part of the hiring process to better serve candidates, no politics, no limitations, what would you change and why?
Oh my God, make managers make decisions.
Mhm.
Like, just make a decision. Make a decision on what you want to do. If I could do anything, it would be going to ownership and management and just being like, make a decision. You have 5 seconds. You know, when I say this job title, I want you to say of these two candidates, say the first name that comes to mind. One, two, three, go.
Mhm.
And just make it happen.
Yeah, with that gut reaction, right?
They start overthinking. And it's like, well, what about this? What about this? If we're going to play out every hypothetical scenario, we will never hire.
So, I want you to leave our listeners with this. Someone is going to hear this episode on their commute or late at night, hopefully, after a long day of applications and silence. What's one thing that you want them to walk away with? The thing that could genuinely shift their perspective and give them momentum to keep going?
You deserve to be at a place where they're going to value you. If
Mhm.
you are being ghosted by a recruiter, by an HR person, if they are not providing you with the attention that you as a human being deserve, that's not where you want to be. And it's very difficult in that moment to recognize it because, again, I have been there, but that's not where you want to be because that's how they treat people. You want to be for a company in a place where they're going to communicate with you. They're going to give you feedback. They value your time, they value your input. If you're having that experience now as a candidate, it won't be any better as an employee. So even though it stings in that moment, you're going to come out farther ahead.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Alyssa, thank you so much for spending time
Thank you.
today and having this conversation. And I look forward to working with you again soon.
Yes, thank you so much, Jay. Been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks.
Thanks.